Gollum, the tragic and disturbing character who guides Frodo on his journey to Mordor in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. What is Gollum's true purpose, and what does his presence in the story reveal to us about the terrible and transformative aspects of the human psyche? Just a quick reminder to like and subscribe as it helps the channel greatly. Now, back to the video. At the start of The Two Towers, Frodo and Samwise are alone, continuing their journey to Mordor in order to destroy the Ring of Power and the festering spirit of Sauron. However, they are being stalked by Gollum, a being who lost himself to the ring, eventually going insane. Samwise has little sympathy and trust for this creature, but Frodo is a lot more compassionate towards him. In fact, Gollum ends up being their guide throughout the story, helping them to navigate the perilous and dark terrain of Middle-earth in order to reach Mordor. Ultimately, Frodo's mission to destroy the Ring of Power will not only save him, but the entirety of Middle-earth. If we look at this narrative through a psychological lens, Frodo is on a journey of development which is not only necessary for him personally, but also for the collective. We can understand the ring and the spirit of Sauron as a symbol of the past and present collective shadow, respectively. The shadow, as Carl Jung described it, is all that which is repressed and feared within the unconscious. In order to grow and develop, one must integrate this into their personality. In other words, they must bring it under conscious control. This process of making the unconscious conscious is what Carl Jung referred to as individuation. So from this perspective, Gollum is helping Frodo on his journey of development. He is helping Frodo to destroy the ring, and so in essence he is helping Frodo to overcome and integrate the collective shadow. What's so interesting about Gollum is that he is clearly an undesirable character and is often looked at with a combination of disgust and pity. Yet despite this, he is crucially necessary on Frodo's journey, particularly in his guidance across the terrains of Middle-earth. This perfectly outlines typical feelings towards one's shadow. An individual might feel confronted by feelings of disgust or fear when they come face to face with their shadow. In fact, this is common to observe when an individual faces an aspect of their shadow in a dream. In a dream, the shadow will often present as a figure which activates great fear, disgust, or rage within the dreamer. Frodo himself seems particularly partial to pity Gollum, and in fact, he primarily calls him Smeagol and recognizes him for his old self and not the creature he has become. But it appears that Frodo actually recognizes himself in Gollum, or at least sees the terrible potential of being the ring-bearer. So Gollum serves as a kind of warning and dark potential to Frodo of what he could become if he doesn't stay strong in the process of his mission. Frodo's mission is to overcome the collective shadow, and of course the emblem of this collective shadow is the ring. The ring itself tends to evoke the shadow of whoever bears it. So this is the necessary threshold that must be overcome, one's own shadow. Frodo's shadow begins to make itself known in the story. He at times snaps at Samwise, becoming cruel and sharp with him. Samwise even confronts Frodo about this and acknowledges Frodo clasping the ring and becoming possessive of it. In essence, Frodo is beginning to behave how Gollum behaves. This is the shadow coming to the surface. If Frodo cannot integrate this, he will be consumed by the ring and will become a servant of the collective shadow, reuniting the Ring of Power with the spirit of Sauron, bringing the downfall of Middle-earth. This is a profound archetypal concept of development and how interwoven we all are. How the individual must develop not only for themselves, but for the collective also. The shadow qualities lurking within the unconscious can be legitimately dangerous, however they will be most dangerous while they remain unconscious. This is because the individual is unaware of these certain traits within them that are repressed, and this allows them to grow and spread until they overwhelm the individual. However, when one actually confronts the shadow, often there are actually positive traits that have been repressed due to some kind of trauma. Gollum can be understood as a shadow figure in the story. At first he is murderous and feral, and his only intent is to steal the ring. However, Frodo takes pity on him. He recognizes the person he once was. This brings forth a different side to Gollum. He turns out to be incredibly practical and useful, and knows all sorts of hidden terrains and passages within Middle-earth. We see this most notably when he guides Frodo and Samwise through the Dead Marshes. Gollum not only knows a direct way to Mordor, but he can also safely traverse what is a very dangerous path. Symbolically, this speaks to the often surprising value and utility buried in the shadow and what can happen when it is made conscious. Without Gollum's help, Frodo wouldn't have found his way to Mordor, or at least not nearly as swiftly. he also wouldn't have found out about another safer secret passage he could enter from. Gollum knows parts of Middle-earth that most are too afraid to visit and therefore don't know their value. With this in mind, Gollum doesn't just symbolize the often surprising potential buried within the shadow, but also the need to have an understanding of the shadow and the darker aspects of oneself in order to overcome the collective shadow. Gollum is an image of someone who did lose themselves almost entirely to their shadow. The ring, the collective shadow, brought it to the surface and it consumed him, making him unrecognizable to all who knew him as Smeagol. What's so interesting about this image is that when certain traits remain buried in the shadow, inevitably they fester and grow unconsciously. It's this unconscious growth that can turn something that has potential into something actually dangerous and unrecognizable. Not only that, but as it grows, it can then overwhelm the conscious identity of the individual. It is Frodo's recognizing of Gollum's past and who he really is that enables him to become more human and less monstrous. This is what brings forth his positive potential and crucial assistance, which can be understood as the integrating of the shadow and making it conscious. However, at the end of the Two Towers, we see Gollum's return to a dangerous and murderous individual due to him feeling betrayed by Frodo. This brings up a crucial reminder. While it is essential for one to integrate their own shadow on their journey of development, there are still great risks. While the shadow has dormant positive traits, it also contains dangerous potential that must be mindfully contained. The risk one takes is being consumed by these darker impulses. Watching Gollum, we see his vital knowledge of Middle-earth and his ability to navigate where no others can, but also his dangerous and impulsive nature which threatens to overwhelm him at any moment. Gollum serves as a powerful symbol of both the necessity of integrating the shadow in order to successfully overcome the collective shadow, and yet the inherent risks that come along with this process of development. You've been watching Archetypal Wisdom. Remember to like and subscribe. Stay wise.